there, and welcome back to the world of Apocalypse Now. I'm Professor Redwood, but everyone calls me the Pokemon Professor. Ever since I figured out what the timeline for the apocalypse is, or rather the vague outline of a timeline, I've been somewhat more focused on continuing my search. Now that I've made it to the region of La Sereca, I'm almost ready to meet up with my old friend, Jenny. Unfortunately, I discovered that she transferred out just 6 months ago. The only other officer in the precinct, a very large man with a picture of him standing next to a woman who is not Jenny on his desk, seemed reluctant to give me any details on where she might have gone and why. Of course, I do pride myself on my persuasive skills. In the end, he was quite eager to tell me absolutely everything that I wanted to know, which is why I now find myself recording this introduction to episode 6, sitting in a rented car outside of Jenny's front door. I need a moment. If there's one thing that I pride myself on, it's being there for my friends when they need me, and I've come to realize that Jenny needed me, and not only was I not there, I had no idea. I'll have to make it up to her. In any case, in our last episode, our 3 heroes began the long climb out of the Pokeball factory where they fought in the last episode. Unable to find access back up to the roof, they opted to find a Pokemon who might be able to help them. Through interesting means, Chomper was able to capture his very first Pokemon, a sort of Gible-Sandshrew-Sandile hybrid, which Chomper named Richter. Richter dug them out of the Pokeball factory and into a museum containing relics of our age and ages past. In the museum, Lux discovered a keystone used in Mega Evolution. After further trials, they were able to escape the museum and make their way back to Team Yell's camp. There, they healed up, but Lux, on hearing that the wild Grumpig they ran into on their way out was still causing harm, took it upon herself to walk out into the night and stop it once and for all. The next morning, the Grumpig was dead, and she had a new partner in a Sableye. On returning to the ridge, she showed Ginormous the keystone, who forcibly took it from her and threw it into the distance. This idea that the growth in Pokemon powers might have been the cause of the world's apocalypse is interesting, though somewhat flawed in respects. If it was truly the case that these methods were to blame, why now? Why not before? Was there a specific method discovered that was more dangerous than others? Was it a combination of all of them? Perhaps we will find some answers in the next episode. For now, however, let's go forward into the next batch of recordings and see if there aren't any answers that we might be able to find in episode 6 of Apocalypse Now.
So when we last left our heroes, you guys had just returned to Delmice Ridge after a successful raid on the Pokeball factory. I will be letting you guys guide where we're going next, but before then, Lux, you have been called up to, or you haven't been called, you've been invited to join Ginormous and Jenny on top of the raid for evening tea.
What's the timeline that we're dealing with? Because right after Ginormous threw the keystone, Lux basically got a look in her eyes like she wanted to fucking kill him. Then she stalked away before she could do something that she knew she would regret, and went to talk to the only person that she could talk to in that moment, which is someone who both knows her and also thinks Ginormous is a fucking idiot, which is Jenny, Ginormous's mom.
So the tea time will happen after that?
Perfect, because if she doesn't have a chance to decompress before having to deal with Ginormous again, she's going to kill him. So Lux is stalking through the corridors of Delmice Ridge, that kind of fast walk that says, "Get the fuck out of my way." And behind her, Fennekin, who's normally this cute little ball of fluff, is currently giving off this air of just menace. Because, let's not forget, Lux is technically a psychic type trainer, She and Fennekin are very tightly bonded, so if Lux is feeling a really strong emotion, Fennekin is going to mirror that at least to some extent. She doesn't even bother knocking, she just walks in and starts pacing back and forth through whatever the equivalent of Jenny's living room would be.
Oh, you seem to have something on your mind, Lux.
Yes, your son's a fucking idiot.
You're not wrong, but is there a particular reason this has upset you today?
Yes, because he took a piece of loot that I got by risking my life in a delve through a Pokeball factory and a museum fighting a fucking Porygon man. A keystone. Something that could have helped us, could have defended us, and that idiot doesn't even bother to ask about it. Instead, he takes it and he throws it off the fucking ridge. Like we couldn't use it. Like we're not half a step away from starvation or death.
When you say the words a keystone, there's the sound of a breaking teacup. A few seconds later, Jenny comes shuffling out of the kitchen. I'm sorry, dear. I think I must have misheard you. Could you repeat that, please?
A keystone. Something used in Mega Evolution. Something that was used for 1,000 years.
Yes, I know what they're used for, dear. I know what they're used for. I honestly thought that we had gotten them all before now, but...
What the fuck does that mean?
I'm sorry, I need to go speak to someone else about this. And she starts heading for the door.
What the mother of fuck is wrong with all you olds? Just answer the fucking question. Why? Why would you do this? It's something that could defend us, help us stay safe. We're in the middle of a goddamn wasteland. We've got Bolsheviks and Mensheviks and clans running around outside our very door who want to either take what we have or, better yet, kill us and eat us.
Lux, my dear, you wish to restore the world that was before, yes?
Yes.
Is your intention to restore those very same parts which led to its destruction? Because if so, then I'm afraid that your purpose will be rather self-defeating.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Mega Evolution has been in use for 1,000 fucking years. It was never a problem. So I don't know what you're talking about. And you haven't explained it. No one has. So, until I get an actual explanation, I'm going to go out there and use whatever I can find to make our lives better.
The full explanation is, I'm afraid, beyond the ability of anyone here to give to you at the moment. Perhaps your father knew the full story, but no one currently part of this plan. All I can say for sure is that there was research into Mega Evolution and Z moves and other ways by which Pokemon can be made more powerful than their natural state. And when this research was reaching a certain level of maturity, the world ended. Maybe it was just a coincidence, I don't know for sure. But unless you want to ask your father about it, you're not going to get the full explanation. And in the meantime, I would recommend that you be cautious about repeating mistakes which may have led to the world's destruction.
So what you're saying to me is that either I accept on blind faith that something somehow might have caused this, even though it's something that we can use to help us, or I can go and ask my father about it, and maybe get a satisfactory answer instead of some bullshit about how the world was weak.
What I'm saying is that you are playing a very dangerous game with very powerful and little understood forces. there are certainly things which should be brought back about the old world, and I will entirely support you in those endeavors, but I'm not interested in remaking the very weapons that destroyed it.
You have no idea what destroyed the world. No one does. All you have is a fucking superstition.
A hand drops to the bandolier of Pokeballs around her belt. I'm sorry, Lux, but I really do need to go now. Are you going to get out of the way, or do I need to move you?
Fine. And Lux steps out of Jenny's home.
Okay, and Jenny steps out after you, and you can see her heading off towards Mercedes' tower.
Lux stalks off in the direction of either the range or her quarters, and she turns on some music to try and mellow out, and she turns on, Start a Riot from the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
Shuffle did good today.
Yes, quite. So let's do a non-Lux scene before we do tea time then.
I believe Chopper has a downtime action left over from last time.
Do not remember one way or the other, but go ahead.
Chopper, it's been gnawing at the back of his mind. Chopper is going to take a dip in the glow. He's going to try to relocate where he saw that timer, and he's going to try to get a closer look and see whether or not it's actually dangerous.
Okay, yeah, finding it again is not terribly hard. As for getting a closer look at it, roll read.
Alright, I lost all my stress, so I'll go ahead and push myself for this, which is a 5.
So, you can withdraw and try a different approach, get a minor complication, or suffer lesser harm.
I'll take the minor complication.
So, tell me what exactly you are trying to do with this thing, and I'll tell you what the complication is.
Chopper's trying to get a look at whatever structure this thing is attached to, see if there's any labeling on it, like if it's conveniently labeled nuke, or has some symbols on it that may be indicative of hazardous material.
And you're just looking at it? You're not, trying to pry it out or anything?
Not trying to touch it or fiddle with it in any way, just trying to get a look at it.
In that case, I'm going to say you do get close to it, and when you get close to it, there is an arc of electricity that jumps from the device to your hand. It is not enough to give you a harm, but it does give you a little tingle.
And the spark doesn't set off the glow? It's a non-reactive material? Non-volatile, I mean?
Nope. If it was volatile, then you all would have exploded 20 years ago, the last time Zapdos came around. So you can see some labels and markings, but nothing that you understand. If you do get access to some kind of repository of knowledge, and especially of brand information from the before times, you will be able to cross-reference and figure out what this thing is, but you do not have access to that immediately.
Well, with that, Chopper will do sort of an aquatic shrug to himself, and he'll swim back up to the surface.
Okay. And, Duffy, do you want to have a scene, or shall we go to tea time?
I used my downtime actions as far as I know. I don't want to spend a supply. I don't really need a scene. Mostly what I'll do is I'll stop off and drop my new Wakizashi off with my, collection in my tunnel.
Okay, great. And by the way, was that a specific downtime action? Are you, doing a long-term project or something? Or was that just fluff? For Adam.
Oh, if you'll permit it, it could just be fluff, and I could use my remaining downtime to take another recovery action.
So I will permit it, but if you declare it as a long-term project, then we'll actually, have you tracking down the information you need to figure this out, whereas if you don't, then it'll just be, if you happen across it, then you happen across it, but otherwise, I won't go out of my way to incorporate it.
Yeah, this is definitely a long-term project.
Okay, great. This will be a 6 clock, and since you got a 5, you can go ahead and fill in 2 segments. Okay, so, tea time. So you see Ginormous and Jenny on top of the ridge. Are you, arriving fashionably late, or what?
Lux always arrives precisely when she means to.
And what do you do?
Lux walks up to the table far more stiffly than she would have the day before, and she stands by it. Not like in that I'm not going to be sitting kind of way, but in sort of a stiff, I'm not going to sit unless invited to sit kind of way.
Jenny gestures at the chair across from you and says, you take your tea black with sugar, right?
Yes.
Okay, she pours you a cup, passes it over. On the table between them, you can see that there is a object covered by a claw. It looks like maybe a book, but you're not sure.
Fennekin jumps into Lux's lap and doesn't curl up, but sits up at the table, so her head is poking up at the level of the table.
Jenny offers Fennekin her hand to sniff and gives her a pat if Fennekin seems receptive.
Fennekin is standoffish at the moment.
Okay, then she doesn't. And Jenny says, I am very sorry that things got so heated earlier. I'm not sure how to say this without coming across as terribly condescending, but I'm not sure that I can fully explain to you what things were like in the years before the world ended. There were so many new ways of empowering Pokemon that were being discovered all the time. The governments of the various regions were constantly talking about nothing other than how they could be used or integrated with each other. As I said, I don't know for sure whether in the end it actually mattered, but it is a risk that we would be well advised to avoid unless we have some very good reason to think it's worth taking. And then Ginormous says, and what's more, even if Mega Evolution or what have you wasn't responsible for the end of the world, the other clans, it's a fairly common belief that they were. So if the other clans learned that we were looking into them, we would be at serious risk of losing their support of the ones that do support us, and the rest might well unite to try to wipe us out.
So, your choice, without even explaining one word of that, was to take away the option?
Yes, and I am sorry about that. I did not handle it as well as I should have. And Jenny says, neither of us did. Which brings me to the other reason that we asked you here. The first was the explanation, and the second was the apology. And she slides the covered object over to you. It makes a more clattering sound than you would expect of a book. We thought it best to apologize by giving you a piece of the old world that is much less destructive, even in principle. There is no one who could possibly object to us having this in the hands of one of our young trainers.
Lux takes a breath. An apology with a bribe is not an apology. If you wanted to apologize, you could have just done it.
It's not.
You didn't need to do this. I know, but I'm trying to say that the two of you are as close as I have to family besides Chomper and Azrael. You piss me off sometimes, but hey, you were the one who explained things to me the first time I got my period. So, you got a little leeway.
Oh, think of it less as a bribe and more of a gift if it makes you feel better. And do you uncover it?
Yeah.
Sitting on the table in front of you is a metal box. The red paint is well worn and chipped and weathered, but you can still see a brightly polished blue glass lens in the top corner of it. You know what this is?
Is this a Pokédex?
She nods.
Lux almost drops it. I've never seen one of these intact. My father spent years looking for one of these that was still working. Ginormous, he tasked you with finding one for like 2 years before he kicked us out.
He was trying to find another. I am not entirely sure why, but he knew I had this, and he had one of his own. I don't want to speculate, because after what he did, I do not understand him as well as I imagined I did, but I thought that he was looking for one to give to you.
Apparently not.
Yes, apparently not.
Lex takes it and, depending on what model this is, like hits the button to flip it open.
Yeah, it's a Kanto Pokemon.
She points it at Fennekin.
If you're trying to register her, she does need to be in Pokeball.
Alright, Fennekin, get inside. And Lux takes the Pokeball off her belt, brings it back up to full size, and brings Fennekin inside it for a second. The Pokedex register hers.
Fennekin, the fox Pokemon. Eating a twig fills it with energy, and its roomy ears give vent to air hotter than 390 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so in addition to that, you see a reading of its vital statistics. It does not have HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, because that is just too gamey for my tastes, but it does have things like height, weight, psychic ability, temperature, etc.
Hunger to swallow the world.
Yeah, and it also shows several options, including training programs that it can implement while the Pokemon is in its ball.
What sorts of training programs?
So there are a lot of possible TMs and HMs listed. Obviously, you don't have the actual discs for those, but it also has some just like basic training, like positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, nicknames, and options for other like specific training if you want to do that.
Lux takes the Pokedex and slips it into her jacket, and she looks at the other two. Look, I get it. I really do. But eventually we're going to have to actually figure out what happened. Fear and superstition aren't the answer. My father may be a dick, but actually finding out what happened is the only thing that's going to keep us from making the same mistakes again.
You're not wrong, but if we're going to go resurrecting those parts of the old world, then we should go in with our eyes open first before we start messing with them. And as much as I know you don't relish the thought, the politics involved also need to be considered.
You're not wrong.
He offers you a hand.
Lux takes it and shakes it back.
Well, if you or your crew need any help from me preparing for your next run, then please by all means let me know.
No, we've got to head out tomorrow morning as early as possible. Chomper has a Pokemon of his own, and I've got Fennekin and a new friend that I think is going to come in handy, and she pats the second Pokeball on her belt. But we need to see about getting Azrael one on our way out. I don't like the idea of challenging the gym without him having some kind of backup.
Oh, you're going to the nearby gym at some point?
That was the plan. Stock up as much as we could at the Pokeball factory, then hit the gym next.
Well, do give Greta my love if she's still there.
Who's Greta?
The leader of the gym nearby. I imagine she didn't make it.
You know the gym leader of that town nearby? Of the one that was just uncovered?
Of course I did. It wasn't just uncovered, it's been there for a while, but people who went there haven't usually returned. I imagine Greta's hasn't survived this long, but she was always a resourceful sort, so I wouldn't want to put anything past her. And quite a powerful psychic, too.
She trains psychic types, huh? Alright. That'll make things interesting.
Yes, it was quite interesting. I think your friend Chomper will like her. They have a great deal in common. Though, her preferences did run towards psychedelics rather than narcotics.
Arceus is great swinging tits. A drugged out psychic type trainer.
Okay.
And that's just the end of the scene, just Lux kind of face-palming.
Alright, so you guys are just setting off for the town?
Yep, we're geared up, packed up, and ready to head out with the rising sun.
Let's go.
Okay, great. Someone roll Trek for me.
I have 2 pips in Trek. That's a 6 and a 3, so success.
You can see a glowstorm in the far distance, but it does not look like it'll be a problem for you guys unless things go very, very wrong. And you guys start heading out towards the town. Fairly quickly after you start heading out to the east, you guys start getting into a region with some scrubby underbrush. What looks like they may have been trees at some point, though they are now horribly mutated by glow, so you can't quite recognize what sort of trees they might have been, or even if they were at some point grass Pokemon. And eventually you guys start to feel something tingling at the backs of your minds.
Interesting.
Would Lux recognize this kind of tingle?
Yes, so you definitely recognize it as the sort of tingle you get from exposure to psychic-type Pokemon, but beyond that, you wouldn't necessarily recognize anything specific.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to introduce Lux's new Pokemon. So she is going to reach to the second Pokeball on her belt, bring it back up to full size, then pop it open to reveal her brand new Sableye. For reference, Sableye is about 3 feet tall. It's a purplish goblin looking thing, but this particular Sableye has a massive grin. Almost like it'll wrap around its entire head, and it is full of row upon row of razor-sharp, wicked-looking teeth. As soon as it pops out, it grins that massive grin at the two of you, and it goes...
Azrael backs away a little bit, not gonna lie.
Chopper waves with his sort of regrowing hand. So where'd you get this guy, Lux?
The night we stopped off at Dimiel's place, after the Pokeball factory, I heard about that Grumpig we saw on our way out. It had attacked some of their people while they were trying to get at it, so I decided to take things into my own hands and get a little bit of my own back. Let's just say I found this little guy on the way and the Grumpig isn't there anymore. Lux kneels down and sort of gingerly pats Sableye on the head. Not because she seems afraid, but because she's trying not to put her hand through him. Sableye, for his part, leans into the pat. Oh, Chomper, by the way, when you waved at him, he waved back at you with a similarly 3-clawed hand and went and cocked its head to the side like it was a clockwork creature, just like...
Oh, he's a polite little dude.
Yeah, he's a surprisingly friendly little guy, although Sableye do have a reputation as pranksters. They like to get into places they shouldn't be.
Huh, you don't say.
Yeah, and this one's got a little bit of a kick to him. He's, he likes to fight, that's for sure.
Huh, so he's the spicy sort.
You could say that.
Well, we could always use the scrappy types, considering what we do.
True enough. And he's a ghost type. Chomper, you were asking about them a little while ago, right? Well, watch this.
Lux takes out a berry and tosses it into the air, and Sableye leans backwards, unhinging the entire top of its head, kind of like a Pez dispenser, and catches the berry in its mouth. Sableye doesn't seem to have an esophagus, just this like pool of darkness at the back of its throat, and when the berry lands it there, it seems to expand and magnify in size until it seems bigger than the Sableye's entire body, until it winks out of existence. When Sableye's mouth closes again, he's making happy munching sounds and rubbing his belly, even though it's fairly clear there's nothing in there anymore.
Lux, I need a ghost type now. That was fucking sweet.
They're not all like this. Some of them are a little darker.
That sounds like my kind of Pokemon.
As Sableye emerges from its Pokeball, you guys can immediately feel the tingling retreat.
That was the idea.
As you are continuing, you can see what looks like a face on a brown ball on a stick stuck into some, like, vaguely equine hindquarters peeking out from behind a tree as you continue down this road.
Richter, who's sort of been on Chopper's shoulder this whole time, is just meerkatting and looking up in the air, sniffing about, keep staying alert.
I think that's a Girafarig. Lux takes out her Pokedex to try and confirm her suspicion.
And the Pokedex says, Girafarig, long neck Pokemon. Error. And as it dissolves into static, you can see the equine hindquarters bending backwards, and from the, like, waist up, this creature looks like a blue teardrop with a big red mouth and some eyes that just look like greater than and less than signs, and two floppy arms and a little soft serve ice cream flip, and it says, Wobbuffet!
Oh, fuck no!
Girafarig with a Wobbuffet.
No, we're not going anywhere near this thing. These motherfuckers are useless.
How useless?
Like, completely. Like, they don't even have an attack. All they can do is, if you guess the type of move that's coming against you, you can counter it, but if you guess wrong, you just take the hit. And when this thing goes down, not if, it's going to take down another Pokemon with it, because it has Destiny Bond. And Lux gives the thing the bird. Sorry, Jumper, I know that's your thing, but Wobbuffet! The damn things exist to die and take other Pokemon with them.
I'm so proud of you.
So what you're saying is if I needed something loud to make a distraction so that I could sneak around, this would be the thing to get.
Well, if you needed something to take a bunch of punches and be really fucking annoying, yes.
It's a bit of a catch-22. I don't want anything that's annoying.
Best distractions are the most annoying ones, as...
Is this just outside a building? Like, does it look like it's guarding something? Is this just a random encounter?
No, it's just a random encounter.
Well, Azrael will take Lux's advice and avoid catching this potentially useless Pokemon.
Okay.
Kudos on creating an abomination not worth even going near, though.
I can neither confirm nor deny that this was entirely just an area denial thing. Like, I may or may not have thought to myself, what's the most irritating Pokemon I can combo?
Azrael's just window shopping.
As they walk, Lux asks Azrael, so, what kind of Pokemon are you in the market for? Steel types are usually pretty sharp? Or are you looking for something a little darker, like a ghost or a dark type?
Would like something that can complement my skill set. Something that I can coordinate with.
Well, I can think of a couple of options under ghost or bug types.
All of these sound good to me.
In fact, given what we've got coming up ahead, bug might be ideal.
Let's see what we run into. I found that it's not easy to just find what you're looking for out here.
Well, that's the truth.
So you are walking away from the Wobbuffet with legs when you hear a screeching, and then a thump, and then the sound of meat being torn from behind you.
Oh, Azrael definitely turns around.
Nope. We're not going back near that thing. Horror movie rules.
Azrael definitely turns around.
Okay. Azrael, and only Azrael, turns around and sees the big blue Wobbuffet deflated, the tail lying on the ground, twitching several feet away, while a Skarmory tears into the flesh of the Girafarig legs.
Azrael is intrigued. Is it a relatively normal-looking Skarmory?
You can see nothing unusual about this Skarmory.
Here we go.
Well, this'll definitely fit your aesthetic.
All right, talk me through it, trainer.
Okay, let's see if I can help you out here. Okay, Pokeballs either work or they don't. If they don't work, they break. Each different kind of Pokeball is limited by mass and volume. Pokeballs work on small Pokemon, Great Balls work on medium-sized Pokemon, and if you want something big, you need to use an Ultra Ball. If a Pokemon knows the ball is coming, it can try and fight back. The higher level the Pokeball, the more defenses it has. A Pikachu could probably electrocute a Pokeball, but an Ultra Ball is going to be too well insulated. You can capture a Pokemon that's fainted, but not one that's dead. Or you can, but there's not much point. A Skarmory is about 5 feet tall and weighs somewhere between 110 and 120 pounds. So, about a medium.
Cool.
Okay, well, there's a couple of things that we can do. We can try and weaken it, which in this case would mean having Fennekin use its fire attacks against it, or you could try and throw a Pokeball while it's distracted eating. Or we could do one and then the other. This is going to be your Pokemon, so it's up to you.
Would Richter be any help here? Or
Skarmory are immune to ground-type attacks, but they're weak against fire, so Fennekin's the better choice.
Is Skarmory distracted, like, right now?
Unless you're carrying a supply of meat I don't know about, Skarmory's not gonna get much more distracted by food than it is right now. As she says this, you hear the sounds of crunching bone and tearing meat.
So because it's so distracted, I'm immediately going to try a Great Ball.
Alright, go ahead and roll Prowl with an extra die for me.
Oh, snap. That gives me 3. I'll just push myself to get an extra die. I really want this thing, so I'm going to roll 4 dice. Okay, well, that's 1 6, and then a bunch of 4s. So I got a 6.
Yeah, so it goes off like a charm. The ball pings off its wings, and its eyes snap around, and it starts to dive towards you. Just as it disappears in a flash of red light, the Great Ball closes around the light, and it pings to let you know that the capture was successful.
As it turned around, once the ball hit it, it turned around. Azrael just has like the weirdest grin that either of the other two have ever seen on his face, and he just kind of waves at it as it disappears into the Pokeball.
Jumper, is that what he looks like when he smiles?
I know, it's weird.
It's fucking creepy, right?
It's not as creepy as my Sableye, but it's still pretty creepy.
Half my face is torn and a permanent grin from hell, and even then, I don't hold a candle to that.
As they're stage whispering, the Sableye sticks his head in between them, looks at Chomper, tilts its head like at an impossible angle, and just goes.
Okay. When we get home, you, me, Azrael, we're grinning off, and we're going to let the people be the judge.
Send us your fan fictions.
I'm not sure I like the term grinning off.
Who has the creepiest grin? Luxkin MC.
I need a name for my Skarmory, though, don't I?
Yeah, so you guys continue on for a while longer, and eventually you get to the old town. What do? There are several houses that look like they are pretty well destroyed. most of them have fallen in on each other. The ones that there are have big gaping holes in the walls, but there is also a mart that looks like it's in not great shape, but not terrible shape. There's a Pokemon Center that likewise looks in not terrible shape. And of course there is the town gym up on a hill. It is so small that you might have thought it was just another house, if not for the big gym sign pointing directly at it.
I think Azrael would start moving toward the Pokemart.
As they walk, Lux says to Azrael, "You know, in ancient times, they used to make swords out of the discarded feathers of Skarmories. So, in case you ever need it, you've got a source."
I'm hoping this is the only sword I'll ever make out of a part of a Pokemon. I touch the sword on my back. But it's good to know that I could have spares.
Well, I didn't mean after it was dead, Azrael. Skarmory's feathers just fall out sometimes. But, into the mart we go?
Alright, go ahead and roll me fortune rolls, all of you.
Lux got a 5.
Chomper got a 6.
4.
Alright, great. So with those rolls, you guys find some potions. Just standard potions, I think.
And how many potions did we find?
I'm just going to say that you guys got 4 supplies worth. You also found another 6 Great Balls and another 6 Pokeballs and another 2 supplies worth of general supplies.
How do we want to divvy up the balls?
We might as well do it evenly since it divides cleanly.
And since you got Pokeballs in the mart in the first town you got to, you also get a free Premier Ball. That's not a bit, you also find a Premier Ball.
Yay. That's about the same effectiveness as a Great Ball.
Those are collectibles, okay? Those go up on a shelf.
Okay, so each one of us adds 2 balls to our Great Ball count, 2 balls to our regular Pokeball count, and I'm going to hold on to the Premier Ball myself. And we don't have to divvy up the potions. We can just say that we use them when we need them.
Yeah, you just have 4 supplies, and also from here on you can declare that supplies are potions.
Okay, Mart is thoroughly looted. We saw a Pokemon Center on the way into town, right?
Yes, you did. But before you do that, as you are stepping over the threshold of the Pokemart, you hear a high-pitched shrieking noise. I need each of you to roll me read.
Ooh, I have a pip. Is there a devil's bargain or anything for this?
No, there is not.
That is a straight 6.
Chomper got a 5.
That is a 3 for Azrael.
Lux and Chomper are hanging out fairly close to Sableye, and so this psychic attack is blunted when it targets you guys. Azrael, you are a little bit farther away, and so it hits you harder. You are going to take the level 1 harm headache.
I don't. If you guys, do they even realize anything's going on? They just hear the screech, right?
Yeah, they definitely realize something's going on, but they aren't negatively affected.
Okay, they would see Azrael like hunch over and put his hands up to his ears and.
Oh yeah, and Sableye is immediately up and looking around for its natural prey.
You see nothing.
I will actually call out Scar, and when Skarmory pops out of the Pokeball, I'll tell her to fly up and get a bird's eye view.
Roll boss for me.
Okay, so this is disadvantage because I don't have any pips in boss.
Does that change at all because Scar was caught with a Pokeball?
Did Lux allow Azrael use of her Pokedex to calibrate the Pokeball's training settings?
No, because we just haven't had a chance. I think this is the same day that Scar was caught. We haven't stopped for a rest or anything.
No, we haven't.
Lux would have definitely let him do that, but we just haven't had time.
I'm probably going to lose my Pokemon here, but I got a 2.
You do not lose your Pokemon. You almost lose your eye as the Skarmory tries to peck your eyes out. I assume you get it back in its Pokeball before it does more than give you a little cut, though.
I mean, I would try.
Yeah, no, the Pokeballs were designed with this sort of occurrence in mind. So yeah, it's not hard, but you are going to take another level 1 harm, scratched face.
So, not the best first attempt.
Okay, so what do you do now?
I will look at Lux and say, so why did that happen?
Because we haven't had time to stop and calibrate him for you. Right now, you're just the guy who took it and threw it in a tiny ball. Fortunately, I have the Pokédex, and this is something that we can fix pretty quickly. Otherwise, you'd have to make friends the hard way.
Oh, well, I'd be pretty pissed off too, I guess. How long would it take to calibrate?
About half an hour to get it to stop attacking you, a little bit more if you actually want to use it in a battle.
Ah, okay. So I have a Pokemon that I'm probably not going to be using too often until I do that, but let's go for it.
What, are you crazy? We're not going into the gym before we do that.
Oh, fair enough.
Let me try something. Lux is going to send out Fennekin, and as soon as she's out of her Pokeball, Sableye's head just cocks at that impossible angle straight at her, and it grins that impossibly huge, horrific smile, and just goes... and all the fur on Fennekin's body stands on end in like a wave from the tips of her ears all the way down to her tail. My girl Fennekin's still just a little bit creeped out by the new kid in class. It's alright, girl. You know he's a friend. Now see if you can find whoever's doing that. And I suppose I am rolling Fennekin's stats to see if she can hunt down whoever made that scream?
Yes, this will be Hunt.
Alright, that's a 4. It's a 6 and a 4, but she doesn't have any pips in Hunt.
At first, you think she's just side-eyeing the Sableye.
Miss Lux, the new kid eats his boogers and spits them out with the screaming faces of the damned.
But you realize that the antenna is also pointed vaguely gymwards, so you're not sure how to parse those two different pieces of information.
Yeah, I figured as much. Whatever that is coming from the gym. I was hoping that we could at least do some raiding in town before we had to deal with whatever's going on in the gym. But I guess that's a forlorn hope. Let's back off to the edge of town for a little bit and calibrate Skarmory. That way when we go in, at least we go in with everyone prepared.
Trust Lux's judgment.
Alright, as you guys are walking out of town past the Pokemart, you blink, and then suddenly you find yourselves walking into town past the Pokemon Center.
All except Sableye, probably.
Yes, all except Sableye. Flashback to Lux sitting across from Jenny as she says, "Oh, it's been there for a while. Just people who go into town don't usually make it out again."
Lux turns to Sableye, who's probably at the edge of town looking back at us like, "You weirdos." Well, that's going to be interesting. Sableye, come here. Sableye will kind of like spider crawl along the ground like he's the girl from The Ring. Those kind of jerky, unnatural movements that make it clear that the locomotion has absolutely nothing to do with its actual physicality. He'll make his way across the ground, then up Lux's body until he's on her shoulder, then cock his head at her questioningly. Stay close, little guy. And if you see me acting weird, just tap me on the head or something to get my attention. Okay, Asriel. Looks like we're not getting out of town until we beat the gym. That means we're gonna have to calibrate Skarmory here with Sableye acting as a guard before we go in. Okay, so I guess we gotta find a place to hold up for a little bit with Sableye acting as a guard so that we have time to calibrate Skarmory. And I'm gonna say that Fennekin is still out with her antenna raised so that she can keep an eye out too.
While this is going on, Chomper, his arms crossed and his head sort of bopping back and forth in contemplation, is going to ask, "So, why didn't we have to do this with Richter? Was it because I took a bite out of him and that just earned his respect or something?"
Partly. If I had to guess, I'd say that Richter is just a first form evolution. He's probably got 2 more after this. Skarmory, on the other hand, is fully evolved. It has a much better chance of becoming the alpha in the relationship, and it's gonna take it.
Oh, cool.
So I guess we find somewhere out of the way to calibrate Skarmory and then head towards the gym?
Roll read for me as you guys are waiting.
All of us, or just me, or who?
All of you.
Sace.
2 for Chomper.
Oh, that is much better. That's a 6.
So, while you guys are waiting, Lux and Azriel, you guys both notice a figure standing by the gym that looks like a grayed person with a silly pink hat and even sillier puffy pink pants. And you guys are looking at it, and it's looking at you, and then a second later it disappears.
Okay, good. We're heading straight into Creeptown.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not the only one that saw that, right?
Nope, but I doubt it's the first thing that you're gonna see that may or may not be there. God damn it, Jenny. You have terrible taste in friends.
So you guys are heading into the gym?
If we've got Scar all calibrated and ready to go, yeah, I think so.
Yes, you do.
Fucking apocalypse, man. Can't just have one normal day.
Nope, because that doesn't make for very good radio. Okay, so you guys enter the gym. Inside is a heavy incense perfume in the air. The carpet is thick and plush, and there are some abstract wall hangings covering the walls and ceiling. It is about 10 degrees warmer and 50% more humid than it was outside. And in the middle of the gym is a little old lady who is sitting cross-legged next to an incense burner while shuffling a deck of tarot cards. And you can see that she has a Medicham standing next to her, and you indeed recognize this as the same Pokemon you saw outside the gym earlier while Skarmory was calibrating.
Are you the gym leader?
I am. Are you bandits, or are you here to challenge me properly?
We're friends of Jenny. She sent us here to challenge you properly.
Oh, you don't say. And how is Jennifer doing?
She's doing alright. Her son is grown, and grown, and grown. He's about 7 feet tall now.
Oh, that is lovely. I really should visit her sometime.
I'm sure she would welcome the company.
Yes. Well, if you're here to challenge me properly, then, you should have a seat, and she gestures at some very thick cushions. I'm sure you know how such things are done, or how they used to be done at least. There will be a brief trial, just to ensure that you aren't going to do anything foolish during the actual match, and then if you prove worthy, then we can have our actual proper battle.
And exactly what form does this trial take? Lux asks as she walks forward to sit on one of the pillows.
She takes a ornately decorated metal cover off of a nearby platter, and it's covered in ink blotters.
Like, Rorschach tests?
No, like the things you use to take LSD.
I forgot she was a druggie. My bad.
Chomper, this one's for you.
I've never been on a vision quest before.
First time for everything.
So what? Do we drink it? Do we inject it? Do we snort it?
Put it under your tongue, dear. Any of you who intend to, challenge me.
And the only way to actually challenge you is to do this.
Oh, yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I've spent the majority of my life in the wasteland avoiding things exactly like this.
Well, if you wish, then I can, of course, make some accommodations while you wait for your friends to finish the trial. But it will mean that you won't be, able to challenge me until you see fit to undergo the preliminary trial.
So you're basically a drug pusher.
Fennekin has crossed over and is sniffing at the blotters.
Oh, she is absolutely not.
I feel like the end cap of this episode definitely has to be all of us dropping acid.
Lux, after being told that if she doesn't take this, she doesn't get to challenge at the gym, Lux looks at Sableye, who is perched on her shoulder, and gives it a look like, I told you to watch out for us in case we start acting weird, and looks at the others, who I assume have also grabbed a blotter.
Azrael just has it on the end of his finger, and he's just looking at you guys.
Ma'am, before we start, I assume if we don't succeed in this challenge, you won't let us leave. That thing that happens at the edge of town will just keep getting us turned around.
Oh, if you don't pass the challenge, then you will be beyond such worries.
Oh, well, that's reassuring.
It shouldn't be, but if it makes you feel better.
Okay, I think I know what the end cap to this episode is. Lux takes her headphones out. She sets her player to shuffle, which comes up with the song Après-moi by Peter Gabriel. Cranks up the volume, looks at the other two with a sour look on her face, and pops a blotter in her mouth.
Azrael doesn't miss a beat. He ain't afraid.
Then they turn to Chomper, who has taken a giant fistful of the blotters remaining in the bowl and shoved them into his mouth, chipmunk style. And right next to him is Sableye, who's done the same thing. Between them, they've emptied the entire damn bowl. And they're each pointing at the other one like he did it.
While I am not personally averse to changing my focus by changing my mental state, coercion seems like a truly problematic way of trying to open people's minds. I had dearly hoped to get more information on how the apocalypse happened. Instead, I got more information on how far the world has fallen since it happened. In any case, it seems that I've run out of excuses to stay in this car and avoid going in to face Jenny. I suppose it's time I did that. Either way, I would like to thank Monstercat for providing the music used in this episode. You can check them out at monstercat.com, where all the music used in this episode is available for royalty-free licensing. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it will make it easier for other researchers to find us and aid us in building a timeline of the forthcoming apocalypse. If you would like to support this podcast and My Flight from Justice, you can do so at patreon.com/Pokemon Primeval, where you will find membership levels offering all sorts of benefits, including altering the space-time continuum so that you too survive the apocalypse and even show up in our recordings. And even having Arceus GM a game session for you and your friends. Goodbye for now, and I will see you next time on Apocalypse Now, where our story continues.
Real quick, let it be known that Alolan Meowth is the most smugly punchable douchebag I've ever seen. I really just want to give it a good kick. Holy shit, Alolan Persian just looks like a fucking derp.
It looks like a poorly drawn Garfield cartoon.
It looks like a Persian had sex with an egg.
It looks like Normal from Garfield, except...
It looks like normal trying to be edgy.